Namaste children. Today we are going to discuss about someone special. Who's that someone special in your life? Yeah, your mom. Listen, God could not be everywhere and therefore he made mothers, says Rudyard Kipling. Moms are like buttons. They hold everything together. And the only place where you get the unconditional love is from your mom. So, love her, obey her, listen to her, respect her, keep her happy ever and ever and ever. And this is your English online class for Standard 5. My Early Days with the Chimpanzees by Jane Goodall. Reading session continuation. This is in your course book, page number 28, third paragraph. Okay, children, you are not going to open the book. You will look at the screen, look at the movement of the cursor and read along. After the session is over, you may take your textbook and read whenever you're free. Shall we go?
Once, as I arrived on the peak in the early morning before it was properly light, I saw the dark shape of a large animal looming in front of me. I stood quite still. My heart began to beat fast, for I realized it was a buffalo. Many hunters fear buffalo more than lions or elephants. By a lucky chance, the wind was blowing from him to me, so he couldn't smell me. He was peacefully grazing in the opposite direction and chewing his cud. He hadn't heard my approach. I always try to move as quietly as I can in the bush. So, though I was only 10 yards from him, he had no idea I was there. Very slowly, I retreated. Another time, as I was sitting on the peak, I heard a strange mewing sound. I looked around and there, about 15 yards away, a leopard was approaching. I could just see the black and white tip of its tail above the tall grass. It was walking along the little trail that led directly to where I sat. Leopards are not usually dangerous unless they have been wounded. Very silently, I moved away and looked for chimps in another valley. Later, I went back to the peak. The peak began to feel like home. I carried a little tin trunk up there. In it, I kept a kettle, some sugar and coffee, and a tin mug. Then, when I got tired from a long trek to another valley, I could make a drink in the middle of the day. I kept a blanket up there too, and when the chimps slept near the peak, I slept there, so that I could be close by in the morning. I loved to be up there at night, especially when there was a moon. If I heard the coughing grunt of a leopard, I just prayed and pulled the blanket over my head. Chimps sleep all night, just as we do. From the peak, I often watched how they made their nests or beds. First, the chimp bent a branch down over some solid foundation. When there was such as a fork or two parallel branches. Holding it in place with his feet, he then bent another over it. Then he folded the end of the first branch back over the second, and so on. He often ended up picking lots of small, soft, leafy twigs to make a pillow. Chimps like their comfort. I've learned over the years that infants sleep in their nest with their mothers until they are about 5 years old or until the next baby is born. and the older child has to make its own bed. I never returned to camp before sunset, but even when I slept on the peak, I first went down to have supper with Mum and tell her what I had seen that day. And she would tell me what she had been doing. Mum set up a clinic. She handed out medicine to any of the locals, mostly fishermen, who were sick. Once she cured an old man who was very ill indeed. Word about this cure spread far and wide, and sometimes patients would walk for miles to get treatment. Her clinic was very good for me. It meant that the local people realized we wanted to help. Mum had to go back to England after 4 months to manage things at home. Of course, I missed her after she'd gone, but I didn't have time to be lonely. There was so much to do.
Okay, children. Hope you all have read along with the audio. Is it not? Very good, children. Now that whenever you're free, you may open the audio and play again and listen, and you may read. And also, you may open your textbook and read when you're free. Okay, catch you in the next class, children. See ya. Bye bye.